well, look, shall we start on the railways? Because actually a lot of people are saying it is ridiculous that we have these rail engineering works at exactly the time when people are wanting to travel. Because, of course, since COVID, the commuting business has collapsed, particularly actually on Mondays and Fridays. But we are going to see wide-scale engineering close downs. The most significant one, I think, affecting the highest number of people is that the West Coast Mainline, which serves Glasgow, Edinburgh, Preston, Liverpool, Manchester, North Wales, Birmingham and the West Midlands, the last 50 miles between Milton Keynes and Euston Station, which we can see there, closed completely on all the way through from Good Friday through to Easter Monday. Now, there are wonderful bus replacement services in place. Trains will be starting and ending either in Milton Keynes or in Rugby, from where you can catch a bus to Kettering and get a train from there. And further north on the West Coast Mainline, there's huge amounts of work going on between Carlisle and Glasgow and Edinburgh. And so that's going to be causing problems actually all the way through till June. Other big projects include the part of London Victoria Station, which serves Brighton and Gatwick Airport. That's going to be closed completely. There are parallel trains from London Bridge, and we're also seeing work, for example, between Tunbridge Wells and Hastings in Kent and Sussex. Wherever you're going, as we heard from Thomas, you've really got to check in advance if you're trying to make a rail trip this Easter. And of course, if you're trying to get to France, well, today on the trains, it's madness. Eurostar's cancelled 2 trains already between London and Paris because of the French national strike there. And they say, if you get to Paris, Gare du Nord, your problems are really just beginning because of all the strike action affecting transport throughout France.
Simon, we've had this sort of tradition, haven't we, in this country, that rail works are carried out during holiday weekends or when the kids are off school. I can't help but think that maybe we need to rethink that system, because what happens at the moment now is people are able to work from home quite easily, much more easily post-pandemic. But what they can't do is travel and see their family from home. And I can't help but think that the passenger traffic must be more now in holiday times than it's ever been, and yet we're still being penalised with this old-fashioned system.
Absolutely right. The numbers have completely bounced back at weekends, which gives you a clue. This isn't people going to work. It's people going out and about, seeing friends, seeing family, going off on trips within the UK. And certainly it's really odd that, given that the railway, which is, of course, as we have talked about many times, in desperate states in terms of losing 1/5 of its passenger numbers, they've desperately to get people back. And so what do? Well, they close everything down over Easter so that exactly the people they need to attract, people who are thinking, OK, well, I'll switch from road to rail, just look at it and just think, well, I'm not going to bother with that. It looks an absolute mess. So yes, it's something which actually has been talked about since the depths of the COVID pandemic, when the railway industry was obviously an utter shambles in terms of money making, losing £1 million an hour for a lot of that time. And there will be questions asked. And certainly by the time we get around to Christmas, I think a lot of people will be saying, hang on, is this the sensible way to do this?
And Simon, they're saying to coach companies to stay away from Dover. How can they can't compel coach companies to stay away? If coach companies have got bookings, are they going to turn up, aren't they?
Well, I'm going to be. I was down in Dover yesterday. In fact, I met Thomas there, which was a great treat. We were both up on the White Cliffs, and you can actually see them there behind that line of trucks coming down the Jubilee Way into the port. And effectively, you've got an extraordinarily constrained site between the cliffs and the channel. Very little room to move. And we saw the results of that last weekend with all the coaches that got stuck. Now, I talked to the boss of the port. He says we got significantly fewer coaches going through. Tomorrow is going to be the real crunch day. They've got extra facilities. They're putting up a marquee to act as a sort of second coach hall. On top of that, they are going to be getting more staff in and, as you say, spreading the number of coaches through the weekend, effectively, people who are booked to travel will be able to do so. They're just saying you can probably have a smoother journey if you can be flexible about demand. I shall find out tomorrow, because I have the immense joy of being booked on the 9 o'clock bus from Victoria Coach Station in London to Brussels. I don't know how much of Good Friday I will spend in Dover, but I hope it is just an hour or so.
And what about flights, Simon? I'm off to walk the Catalonian coast next week. Will I get there okay?
Yeah.
Are the flights going to be good?
First of all, your choice of destination is impeccable. The Catalan coast, particularly just south of the French border, is a joy. Unfortunately, there's a clue there. You have to fly over France to get there. French air traffic controllers have basically been on strike for about 3 weeks. British Airways, EasyJet, Ryanair cancelling flights today because they've really gone for a big walkout today. And unfortunately, because so many flights from the UK go over France to get to Portugal, Spain, Italy, Switzerland and so on, it's an absolute mess. And British Airways cancelled 20 flights today. EasyJet have cancelled a few more, and that's mostly into France, but also, indeed, British Airways has cancelled a round trip from Heathrow to Barcelona, because that goes over French airspace, and they are on strike there. So sorry. And if you are going to France, of course, once you touch down, your problems are only just beginning.
Well, that's a cheerful note from Simon Calder from The Independent.